What's up, everybody? Welcome to Take No Offense. A couple of old friends who grew up together in central Pennsylvania. Now we live on opposite sides of the country. It's our chance to get together to share our thoughts on politics, sports, TV, and movies. I'm Eric Messersmith in the Los Angeles area. That is Brian Johnson in suburban Washington, D.C. How are you, my friend?
Nothing to talk about this evening. A slow news week. Dude,
we
it's amazing. Like, for real. Every week, it's something.
Yes. We were talking today in our little pre-show meeting, and you said it's like Thanksgiving dinner
It is.
every week. The plate is full.
You can't
But
get cranberry sauce on this plate, man. There's no room.
no,
It's
there's
full.
no
It's got
room.
green beans, corn, the turkey, the stuffing. Everything is there.
You'd have to put it on top of the turkey.
Yeah,
You don't
you
want
just
that.
pile on. You can get two plates. That's an option.
That is an option. So Trump at 6 months. He had the 6 month anniversary yesterday. We got a lot of the more Epstein stuff. We got redistricting news, which you don't usually hear about in the middle of the decade. But Brian, I actually probably the biggest story of the week was really the astronomer CEO of the tech company at the Coldplay concert. I mean, that probably was the biggest story since you and I have done this show last. Everyone knows the story by now. The CEO of this tech AI startup called Astronomer was with the head of human resources. You couldn't make this up. Having an affair at a Coldplay concert. They get on the big screen kiss cam. Chris Martin of Coldplay says as they duck away in shame, either they're having an affair, they're just very shy. Well, it turns out it was the first. The internet goes crazy.
Crazy. It's amazing.
Been replaced and is no longer the CEO. What a sign of the times. Just the whole way it came about, the fact that it became a thing, that he then lost his job. It's a 2025 story. Like if you explain this to someone in 1960,
no,
I don't think they would get it.
I don't think so either. But just like the Epstein files captures everything, this really does. Like every summer, we seem to eat a CEO of some kind. They just get eaten alive. You know what doomed them was their reaction. Mm-hmm. Had they just played it off and like I told Trisha, because obviously I have to have this conversation with my wife. If I'm at a concert with my girlfriend and I go on the kiss cam, I'm not going to kiss her. I'm just going to put my hands up and start waving at the screen, and no one's going to think that anything is the wiser. And what's amazing? Did you see the what's that show on? Oh my God, Family something. Modern Family.
Oh, Modern Family. The old
Did you
ABC
see the clip of the husband kissing the wife's mother, like on the kiss cam?
The wife's stepmother.
Yeah, the stepmother. Right. But, like, isn't that amazing?
Yes.
That was a thing.
They were prescient about the I did see that clip floating around. And just to be clear from what you said earlier, you were saying a hypothetical girlfriend.
Oh, right, obviously.
You weren't saying like a real girlfriend.
No, dude,
right?
I'm so exhausted from just having a wife that I can't imagine having another woman in my life. That's what always amazes me about people that cheat on their spouses. Like, I'm so tired from one relationship. How could I possibly have another?
Well, that's a great question. Especially the people that it's more than just like a casual thing. They have like a serious.
It's the head of human resources,
and some of them even have a family. That's the thing that.
No, that's incredible. Get the hell out of here with that. Family. You're out of your mind.
Every once in a while, you hear those stories of someone like, yeah, they died. It turned out they had a second family in like another state. Like, I'm sorry, what? How in the hell did they handle that?
There's no way.
I don't have the energy for it.
No,
you know? I really don't.
No one does.
But it was such a 2025 story. There's no privacy anywhere, and I think you're right. The big takeaway is the reaction. It was absolutely priceless, and all the memes are so good.
No, I'm operating with the benefit of hindsight, right? Like it's like I'm one of those guys. If I fought him, I would do this. Well, you don't know what you would actually do, but I'm just saying, like. I mean, come on, man. The reaction was the dead giveaway, right? Am I on an island here?
No, absolutely. Totally. No one would have probably been the wiser if they just played it.
How red their faces were. That's either very poor video quality or excellent video quality. I can't decide which one.
All right, Brian, it was 6 months that our dear leader has been in office.
Our dear leader.
The approval rating's not great. Real quick politics average, 45% approve, 52 disapprove, so he's underwater by 7. Nate Silver has it at 44%, and it's really gone down.
Nate.
He was actually had a positive approval rate at the beginning of his presidency, and it's been basically, with a few exceptions, a slow, steady drift since then. This is despite some successes, passing the big, beautiful bill, and you had the fact that, to his credit, immigration crossings at the border are basically non-existent. Zero people
Because they're going the other
into
way.
interior the last few months. Yeah, and people are going the other way, actually. But I do think it's interesting that despite that stuff, and maybe even in part because of it, the approval rating is low. I really think that he's underwater in basically every issue. I think part of it is promising too much and under delivering. Like, promise I'm going to lower prices when everybody knew that wasn't going to happen.
Right.
And inflation is basically where it was when he took office, which is not terribly high, but slightly above what the Fed would like. And prices aren't going down; they're continuing to slightly go up, with more possibly on the way with the tariffs. And then I think the other thing is, even on immigration, where, as I mentioned, he's done incredibly well at securing the border, to credit to the administration for the number of border crossings just falling off.
There has been some human suffering along the way. I think that's important to note.
Right, because of the interior enforcement, not just the worst of the worst, which is what we were told for a while, but actually rounding up
people with green cards that have been here 40 years.
Green cards, people who have been here for a long time. I think you have a situation where that even, and he's underwater on immigration even, and it's, I think, clearly because of that. People do not want, by and large, people taken out of this country that have been here for a very long time. This CBS News poll I thought was very telling. Trump administration is trying to deport more people, about what you expected, or fewer people. 52% said more people than they expected. 37% said about the same. Who is Trump prioritizing for deportation? A majority now says people who aren't dangerous criminals. And I think
interesting.
Lies. Yeah, but that was not the case a few months ago. Dangerous criminals was a majority a few months ago. But I think the facts have caught up to public opinion. And yet, look, they are, to their credit, they are rounding up some dangerous criminals, and they are, I'm sure, going after them. But there's a lot of other people that are getting swept up in these enforcement actions.
80-year-old men
that are not. Yeah, and so I think that kind of, look, there's a lot. You and I did kind of a deep dive at the 100 day with all the things we liked and didn't like. I don't have to go in the whole list, but to me, those were kind of the big takeaways of why I think 6 months in, despite some successes, the presidency is less popular than it was when he took the oath of office on January 20th.
It's a hard job, but he's also a clown show.
Wow.
Like, that's the problem, right? Is like, I respect that what he's doing is not easy, and I don't pretend that I could do it. I couldn't. There's no way. It's just too big of a job. But at the same time, I do feel like, and this is delusion, I would apply like logic and reasoning, and I would say a fair amount of consistency in my policy and the way that I went about things. The trouble with Trump that I've always had is the unpredictability. And I think that's why he has the disapproval rating he does, is because I think with Trump 1 and Biden, whether you're working in the economy or some other part of society that is impacted by the decisions that Trump's make, there was a certain amount of predictability. Because remember, during Trump 1, you had some guardrails. You had the James Mattises of the world who would step in and slap him and be like, hey, child, listen, this is how the world works. The problem is, in Trump 2, that does not exist. No. With the one exception of Marco Rubio, and he is my only exception to this rule. And you have just
maybe Scott Bessent a little bit, the Treasury Secretary. You're right, but other than those,
it is full of yes men and yes women, and that clowns. Is what and clowns. And I started with it's a clown show, dude. It's a clown show. You know, I like Tulsi. I do a little. I know
I have something on her coming up.
I'm sure you do, but I'm disappointed in her. This whole thing with Pam Bondi. They won't release anything on Epstein, but Martin Luther King has 243,000 pages. Gee, I wonder why that is. If I could put my finger on it. I don't know, man. It's tough.
Yeah. He is the guardrail. That before, like, other people had to restrain him. Now he's the restraint.
That's amazing.
With the people like Stephen
That's
Miller,
amazing.
I know, right? So that just tells you, I think, where we are.
Yeah,
Okay, real quick on the Gabbard thing. This is why it's so dangerous to have
a child be the director of
loyalists
national
and sick
security.
well that, and then also loyalists and sycophants like
Mm-hmm.
Tulsi Gabbard.
Mm-hmm.
Gabbard apparently was on the outs during the Iran thing because, as we know, she's very dovish, shall we say, and was not necessarily a fan of the Iran campaign. Tried to
No,
put out that weird video, basically not naming Iran, but she put out a weird video basically saying we should avoid war and don't let people.
what starts with an I ends with an N.
right before we bombed Iran. Anywho, to get back in Trump's good graces, she has made a criminal referral to the Justice Department about Obama.
Oh, for fuck's sake! I saw this.
And Trump, picking up on it, of course, tweeted out an AI generated video of Obama being arrested in the Oval Office. So if you're wondering what the hell is this,
Yeah.
the answer is not much, but I will quickly summarize. So you may recall in 2016, we had the whole Russia gate thing.
No, Russia. Can we talk about this honestly? Obviously, Russia interfered with our election.
Right. So what happened is this is what happened during the during the elections campaign. It was clear to the intelligence community that Russia was actively sowing discord on social media to try, with the bots and other things, to try to help Trump, and that they were attempting to, and then eventually were successful in hacking the DNC, the Hillary Clinton campaign, to get emails releasing those to damage her, right? But they also said there is no evidence that Russia is actually breaking into our voting systems.
Right.
So that's what they said, and that was all true.
Right.
Then, of course, after the election, when they had more information, they again said, we have no evidence that Russia hacked the election. This was after the fact. But we are now really confident that they were interfering by the chat bots, sowing discord on social media, by the hacking, right? Tulsi Gabbard took the first part of that and said during the campaign, they said they weren't interfering to rig the election by changing votes, which was true. And then after the election, they said they were interfering by helping Trump with the chat bots and the hacking, which also was true. But she left out all the other parts, which explain the whole situation, which is they consistently said that the whole way through. And you know who else said that? You pointed him out earlier, a gentleman by the name of Marco Rubio.
Yes.
And the unanimous Senate Intelligence Committee that he was the chairman of, which put out a report in 2020 concluding exactly what I just said and what the intelligence community concluded in 2016 and 2017. And she is trying to make this into a scandal. It is one of the most transparently political, sycophant, gross, disgusting things I've seen from a public official in a while, which is saying a lot.
That really is saying a lot.
Well, for so many reasons. Because first of all, it's such an insult to the intelligence of anyone who is paying the least bit of attention.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even a good call.
You seem offended. If you're watching this on YouTube, Eric looks offended.
Look, I told you before, of all the cabinet officials, her, RFK, Pete Hegseth, they were the ones where you just, because not only are they sycophants of Trump, but they're not competent to do their job.
See, I disagree with you on Gabbard. That's where we separate.
Even after this?
Yeah. Look, man, I'm not a fan. I don't agree. Everything you said, spot on. But sometimes, dude, politicians, they politic. And that's the thing.
She's the director of national intelligence. She is
not
a politician.
Well, if
there's any job that should be nonpartisan in the cabinet, that should be the one.
We agree. But it's not normal. Like, I don't mean to be that guy, but like, I said that without really thinking about it. I'm serious. I'm not like one of these people that like chant and has a sign of like this isn't normal. But I mean, we're in a very different time, man. I think under any other circumstances, we would agree. I just think she's trying to save her job.
Right. Well, or at the very least, get back into the good graces of
Yeah.
Trump. And the problem is when people do this, look, I don't think there is any chance they would ever actually follow through and try to
No,
prosecute
are you out
Brennan
of
or
your mind?
Clapper,
Dude,
Brennan or
Barack
Clapper or
Obama is
Comey.
one of the greatest presidents we've ever had, and that is not hyperbole.
I don't know about that. I don't
Dude,
know about
I
that.
put him in the top third of U.S. presidents of all time, for certain.
Top third. Well, there have
Top
been how
third.
many? 47. Although
Well,
two
it's
twice.
less. Yeah.
So 45. So you're saying he's in the top 15 all
I do.
time.
I do.
Ooh.
I think Barack Obama is top 15
Yeah,
all time.
I think you could make a case. I think he's in that range. I would have to, obviously do a deep dive. I would put him in that range. But I think a part of it too, I think, is it's so hard to write the legacy of even people like him who've been out of office for how long has he been out of office for? 10 years?
Yeah. 10
Well,
years is about the time you can
Yeah,
start to really
you
assess.
need the scope of history. So
Dude,
anyway,
the recovery of the financial crisis being the biggest one.
yes,
Like that was huge with consumer financial, which by the way is being torn apart by Trump, but it doesn't matter. I'm just saying that, like, in general, a lot of things he did, Barack Obama, he had his faults. Remember, the biggest thing is though capturing Bin Laden. I think that will always be Barack Obama's number one thing.
The other thing he did is he had the biggest expansion of healthcare for people in modern times since Medicare, really. Medicare.
I mean, we're only, like you said, 9-10 years away, but I do think I can say that confidently.
Yeah, I think he was good. I think he, look, he was a divisive figure, and some of that was on him.
Well, sure, because he had tan suits and he was black. But aside from that,
no, I think some of that was on him with his rhetoric. I think that he missed the mark in certain points. But yeah, I think overall,
what's funny, dude, is I love this conversation because Barack Obama is actually not liberal enough for me, which is hilarious. If you really think about that.
Right. By modern standards, he would be considered kind of a moderate Democrat.
Yeah, he was moderate.
Democrat right now. Yeah. The party's definitely moved a lot left since, even though he had major, that's the thing, is that's why he was, I think, so successful, is he had major liberal leaning legislation like the bank reforms, the Obamacare that have now become mainstream, that even now Republicans don't totally repeal, although they're trying with some of the bank reforms, but they haven't been able to do that yet.
Now, can we circle back to us arresting him, though?
Well, yeah, I think they're more talking about Brennan, Clapper, Comey, the FBI, CIA, DNI. I don't think they really mean Obama, even though Trump put out the meme. But I think they mean those other officials most likely. But yeah,
but Trump doesn't like Obama, dude. Ever since the press, what's it called? Where they have the
the White House correspondence,
the correspondence dinner. I don't think Trump has liked him since then.
Obama just skewered him, and
that was a big mistake.
A lot of people think that may have led to his running. I think the problem, look, it's at the end of the day, this bullshit from Gabbard isn't actually going to change anything. They're never going to bring it before a judge.
No, are you serious? Come on.
So it's not. But here's the problem with stuff like this: is it sticks with people.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, wait a minute, though. Didn't the Obama administration try to institute she called it a treasonous act? That's what she said. She said they were engaged in a treasonous act. So now people who, some of them with good intentions, who don't pay that close of attention, will be, if you say, and then it goes into the, well, everybody's bad category, right? That's the defense you always hear when you really push someone. Oh, everybody is bad. Everybody's corrupt, right? Look at Obama. They were treasonously trying to stop Trump from being president. So that's the damage this stuff does.
I don't know if I can stop this argument here, but there were no insurrections under Obama.
That is true. All right, Brian. I also wanted you touched on Epstein earlier. There's a follow-up from last week. So the Wall Street Journal published an article Friday that purported to reveal a letter that Trump wrote to Jeffrey Epstein. So in 2003,
this is juicy.
When they would have been friends, Epstein had a 50th birthday, and people various friends of his wrote in, like, how do you say this? Racy letters
Yeah.
So that was kind of the theme, I guess. So there was a drawing apparently of a naked woman, and inside of this drawing, you can't make this stuff up. There was a fake conversation between Trump and Epstein. And it ended with these words said by Trump in this fake conversation, written out. A pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret. I'm not sure what secret he may have been referring to in 2003, but Trump denies this, said it never happened, which is interesting
Well,
because Trump,
it's par for the course.
and then not only that, he sued. He sued the Wall Street Journal. He sued Rupert Murdoch, which obviously Rupert Murdoch is the owner not just of News Corp, which owns the Wall Street Journal, but he also owns the Fox Corporation, which owns Fox News, among other assets. So they've kind of had a bit of a love-hate relationship over the years, but now he's suing him. I think it's interesting because I don't know if this letter exists or not. But there were two things. There was one where they said Trump doesn't draw. They said he's not a drawer. He doesn't.
I can see that. He uses Sharpies.
Right. There literally, though, are sketches of him drawing the New York skyline, one of which sold for a charity for like $30,000. So I'm not saying he did it. I'm just saying we literally have
seen. Well, you can't believe anything he says or take anything he says at face value. Right. Because, no, you can't. That's like me saying I've never drawn anything. Well, obviously, I've drawn something. It's like, okay, can we step back? Obviously, Trump and Epstein had a social relationship at some point. There are so many photos that I had together. Do I leap to the thing that Trump is a pedophile? Of course not. Did he have some inkling of what was going on with Jeffrey Epstein? Absolutely. Does that make him a criminal? No.
But no, I agree with you. But here's the thing, and we talked about this last week.
He's got his own shit going on.
When you set in motion the machinery of conspiracy, what did I call it last week? The
dragon tiger, the tiger dragon
of conspiracy. And then when it comes back, as you mentioned today, Martin Luther King files, 230,000 pages digitized now for anybody to review.
Conspiracy theories.
They put out the JFK information. I believe they either did or are going to put out the RFK information. But this one, Trump seems adamant that he does not want out until finally he was forced Friday to call for the Justice Department to ask the court to release the grand jury testimony. Key thing there, though, is what they have isn't just what people would like to see isn't just grand jury testimony. The FBI under Trump, the government under Trump, the first administration, when they actually charged Epstein and investigated this, they interviewed people. The FBI interviewed people. They secured some documents. They raided his home. That is the kind of stuff that people want to see.
Yeah. And they want to see the 1,000 bottles of baby oil. This is what they want to see.
Right. Right. And so he's still not. So again, I generally tend to agree with you. I find it hard to believe that.
No.
And the main reason is because, as Trump points out himself, in between the Trump presidencies, Joe Biden was in charge of the government. And I find it very difficult to believe if there was some incredibly damning, salacious information on Trump, it would not have come out prior to the 2024 election. That said, when you dance around this stuff like he has, and then something like this comes out where it's like, hey, we got a big secret. This is why people ask questions. And so I think for Trump, it's imperative to just get out everything he can, not just what's under grand jury seal, but also anything that the FBI and the Justice Department have. Get it out, because this story is not going away.
I'm just telling you, man, the entire thing to me is ridiculous. And the reason I say it's ridiculous isn't because I feel like this is one space that I kind of feel for Trump, because there are a lot of people that I know socially or I may have been photographed with that I have no real relationship with. I don't know what they do in their free time. I have no clue. And that's okay, especially when I'm taking my small corner of the world and I'm trying to apply it to something that's much larger in the case of Trump and Epstein. And it's really not even possible. So to just make this leap and this connection between those two things, I don't know, man.
No, I don't buy it either, but I think you're underplaying their relationship a little bit. I mean, he flew on the plane multiple times. They were videotaped and photographed together. He spoke fondly. I mean, they had a again, that does not mean that anything went down. They were close. And I think when you that's another thing, you put these details together and
Yeah, but
the
what's
fire
it called on Office
burns.
Space? It's a jump to conclusions, Matt.
I agree with you, but that is the MAGA world, right? That is
No,
what is
you're not
happening in
wrong
that
there. I
world.
agree with you, and it's a problem for Trump. How about that?
It is. What about Stephen Colbert?
Ah,
The Late Show, which of course started with David Letterman, famously. Colbert has been in charge the last 10 years. CBS announcing that they will cancel not just Colbert's show, but the entire Late Show will be no more as of the end of this upcoming TV season in May. Of course, he's obviously not a fan of Trump, and you had many Democrats and liberals outraged by this, saying it was for
eh.
political reasons. It is worth noting CBS's parent company, Paramount, is close to potentially merging with a company called Skydance. That needs federal government approval. CBS recently settled a lawsuit that Trump filed against 60 Minutes for $16 million because of what he said was an edited interview with Kamala Harris prior to the election. Legal analysts, basically everyone I heard talk about that, said that lawsuit was completely
Yeah,
without
$16
merit.
million
I,
is post-it notes, but
right.
sure.
I think it's pretty much understood that the only reason CBS settled that
Yeah,
was because of this potential merger. So,
yeah.
but that then leads people to think the Colbert thing was something similar. I don't think it was. I
I
think
don't
the
either.
Colbert thing. I saw a story the other night. It's shocking how much smaller the audiences are for late night TV than they were even a generation ago. Just like pretty much all of
Everything.
TV, especially linear television, to the point where Colbert was down to about 2.5 million viewers an episode. There was a reporting
Still a
from
lot, though,
well, it's number one.
in
I mean,
relative
number one
terms.
in his time slot,
Yeah.
but still a small number. And CNN reported that the show was losing money, which didn't used to be the case. He makes $20 million a year, roughly. They have a staff of about 200 people.
It's a
I
lot.
just feel like in this day and age where Joe Rogan can sit in a studio with a guest with I'm
A
Rogan's big enough. I'm
producer.
sure he has a staff of several people, but it's nowhere near 200.
No.
And they can do that show and get it out
Yeah,
and have
multiples. They
more
probably get
right and
way more listens.
way more viewers and listeners than Colbert. It just the economics of late night TV. They really don't make sense anymore. Sad to say.
Well, you and I talked about this off air, so I'm just going to be repeating things that we probably already talked about. But I used to enjoy late night TV because, and I'm talking about when we were kids, there would be a celebrity or someone that we were a fan of, a movie star, what have you, that would go on a show, and you really didn't have an insight into their personality, what they were like, and you enjoyed the humor of the host, so you would tune in. But now, dude, every celebrity, every person is available everywhere all the time. We know these people. I have seen Sydney Sweeney's tits more in the last 3 years than I like. Honestly, I'm kind of tired of Sydney Sweeney. You know what? I take that back immediately. But the point is,
I was gonna say part of that is because of your unique habits.
well,
But yes, I
it's
understand what
because
you
I
mean.
have a teenage son. But the point
Well,
is,
when you spend hours and hours searching for things like that,
that's
you're gonna
true.
find it.
Then you come, but you get what I'm saying.
I
Like,
do.
all kidding aside, if you wanted to see Sydney Sweeney, you may only be able to capture her like once or twice on some of these late night talk shows. You would see her in film, but now that lady is available anywhere, all the time, from anywhere, on a podcast, on a show, online, giving an interview. I don't need to tune into late night television anymore. So I see why it's going away, and it's kind of the nostalgia that you and I talk about. It's like from our youth, like
Yeah.
Blockbuster Video. I love Conan O'Brien, but Conan O'Brien is much more successful in the podcast realm now than he ever was on late night television. That's
Yeah.
amazing. And
And
like
look,
times change, things change. I don't think Colbert is being let go. for anything political. I just think that $20 million a year and a staff of 200 is probably too much weight to carry at this point.
Right. And both things can be true. It can be true that the primary reason was just the economics of television, linear television, over the air television, and late night TV specifically. And it also can be true that politically he was a little bit of a pain in the ass for a corporation that
But it's
needs the
selling. That
approval
needs
of this
approval.
government for.
Sure,
And so if it's a close call, right,
right.
or on timing, then you can understand why that.
But losing money in a business is never justifiable.
No, and that's the thing. And the other thing too is, and I was not a huge Colbert fan in terms of.
I was when he was on the Daily Show.
Yeah, he was good.
That was his best work.
Look, Jay Leno, say what you will about him, he was apolitical for the most part, brought the country together with comedy, made fun of both sides, and crushed it in the ratings, right? That was not Colbert. That was a choice he made. Now, yeah. I'm not saying he shouldn't have the right to make that choice. It's a free country, and I believe in freedom of expression.
Well, Jon Stewart makes that choice. John Oliver makes that choice.
Right. It's a choice you can make, but you do limit your audience to some degree with that. I don't think it's right. I saw people on the left though who put this in the same category of the CBS settlement of that ridiculous lawsuit.
Well, they're different
and say,
things.
"Oh, look, it's the chilling effect of free speech." And I understand why people do that, but I really think you have to be careful. And with Trump, it's hard sometimes, but you have to try to parse the situations, because to me, they're totally different situations, even though they're the same company. Like, you can justify very easily, I think, the Colbert firing aside from politics. If I do not think there is any way to justify the shameful capitulation of 60 Minutes when clearly they did that because Sherry Redstone wants to sell Paramount.
Yeah, I agree. Those are very different things.
They're completely different things. All right, Brian, our sports topic actually involves Trump as well.
Wow.
I know, right? He's everywhere all the time.
It's a full plate.
This True Social post. My statement on the Washington Redskins is totally blown up, but only in a very positive way. I may put a restriction on them that if they don't change the name back to the original Washington Redskins and get rid of the ridiculous moniker Washington Commanders, I won't make a deal for them to build a stadium in Washington. The team would be more valuable, and the deal would be more exciting for everyone. He also said Cleveland should change their name back to the Indians. He ended this post by saying, "Make Indians great again."
Right.
Miga.
What's up, my Miga?
For the... Well done. So are you longing for the days of the Redskins and Indians to return?
No. I mean, come on. Are you serious? You've known me for a very long time, buddy. And those names are not only insensitive, they were just wrong. For the fact that they lasted as long as they did is the miracle to me. What if we were the Blackskins? Are you kidding me? Or are you out of your mind? Now, from a business perspective, I think it does make some sense. And this is where Trump and I, sometimes we really do come together. I don't think anything he actually said in his post, aside from blocking the sale, is untrue. I think the Redskins would be more popular if they kept that name. I think the Indians and their ownership group would have a better chance of winning elections if they had kept the name Indians. However, that doesn't make it right. I don't know. The Commanders have new ownership. They're going to be very successful. They paid a lot of money for that team. For me, this is one of those things that just distracts from everything else going in the world. Because if you really think about the significance of this, it is microscopic in comparison to the genocide in Palestine that no one is paying attention to. We're talking about the names of baseball and football teams. So this is the miracle, Eric, of what Trump does. But in sports, do you really think it matters?
No, I disagree with you on the genocide term, but that's a different topic.
Okay, but you get what I'm saying.
I do get what you're saying. I actually think Trump has a point here, and let me explain why.
Did I just say that?
Right, but I even go a little bit further than you in terms of. So when I first heard they were going to change the name. I thought,
Which one, Commanders or Indians?
well, I'll start with the
Because
Redskins.
the
I
Indians
thought,
logo is offensive beyond words.
right. Well, there's two things.
Not
There's
the
the
name of
name,
the team, the
right? The
logo.
logo. There's the name and the logo, right? So I agree with you on the logo, but let's just focus on the names right here. So when I first heard it, I thought, well, yes, this makes perfect sense. That may have been a term that may have been acceptable back in the day, but it doesn't feel like it is any longer.
Right.
And then I saw a poll of Native Americans. They actually asked real Native Americans, what do you think? And a majority, strong majority in this poll I saw said they wanted to keep the name. If you recall, when we had this thing a few years ago, when they went through, they were basically trying to change every college team that had a Native American mascot,
The
logo,
Braves,
nickname. They were trying to change them all. And
Warriors.
what you saw was in certain areas, the tribes, some of the tribes
They liked it.
said, we like it and we want to keep it. Florida State is a good example.
The Seminoles.
Tribes said,
The
no,
Seminoles were the most vocal.
we want to keep it. So my point is, as a white guy who has, not Native American at all, do I think it's offensive? Yes. But I'm really not the person that people should be asking. And so I do think it's a little bit paternalistic for us to say, oh, that's offensive for them.
Wait a minute.
Let me finish. If they don't think it's offensive. And I'm not saying for sure they don't, but I'm saying I have seen public opinion that does say that. And so I just think for a lot of people, and let's be honest, the sports media is way more liberal even than the news media.
Yes,
and
that's fair.
They always have been. For whatever reason, that
it's an interesting
profession draws very left-wing people. And so for them, it was like, oh yeah, it became a bandwagon thing. Plus Dan Snyder was an asshole and everybody hated him. And they wanted him to sell the team and they wanted him to change the name, anything to hurt or embarrass him, which I get. But I do think, I don't even know how you do this because it's not the same thing as the Seminole tribe. You would, because it's a name for all Native Americans, obviously. But I do think if you could ever get a good sampling of people and they were Native Americans, they were like, no, we like the Indians, we want to keep it, we want to bring it back, or even the Redskins, then I do think it is kind of, as I said, paternalistic for us to be like, no, you should be offended by that, be offended, I'm offended.
Well, wait a minute, I'm as Native American as Elizabeth Warren. I have Native
Right.
American on my grandfather's side, and I'm not even joking, like that's a real thing. I do. I have Native American.
Although that's how, right. And remember, though, that's how she got in trouble because that does not make you Native American.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm the whitest man alive, as anyone who has listened to this show clearly knows. But my point being is I do have Native American history in my family, but I don't view myself clearly as a Native American, which is why I make the joke of Elizabeth Warren. So, I think the name Indians by itself is fine, logo bad. Washington Redskins, name bad, logo okay. I feel like there's a meeting in the middle here. And don't you think the Atlanta Braves have really hit that mark? Because remember they used to have, the Atlanta Braves had the logo with the Indian or Native American with the big teeth and the tomahawk. And they were like, you know what? We're just going to have the logo of a tomahawk and we're going to be the Braves. And everyone was like, you know what? Good. So I feel like there is there could be a meeting in the middle with both these teams where Cleveland could still be the Indians and then just have a better logo, like the Kansas City Chiefs. They have, the Arrowhead. They play at Arrowhead Stadium.
Right.
I mean, it's funny not to delve down this entire road, but the Native American peoples play a huge role in our history, for where we are in the United States. And I do feel like having sports teams with names and likenesses and logos, etc., that go along with that Native American history is actually great because for people that are just, being born or kids, it helps them learn about the Native American peoples and how they were here. And I think I can use genocide appropriately in these terms. The genocide that occurred in American history. I feel like, yes, it's sports and it's fun and it's football and baseball and whatever, but it also helps connect those two things. I guess what I'm trying to say is there's a healthy middle here, Eric.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I look, I don't think it's ever going to come back, at least Redskins, maybe Indians will. But I do think I want to hear from actual Native Americans on this. And I want to hear a little less from, people who are
Well, then
being
I was too
moralistic
much
about
there,
it.
even as an Elizabeth Warren
No,
Native American.
obviously, this show is totally different.
Yeah, of course.
I did forget about this topic, and we have to talk about this. Hunter Biden has reappeared. So he was
I
on
watched the clip
this
you
is
sent me, dude.
something.
Jesus.
He was on a podcast, and it is
He
something
curses
else.
a lot.
He curses quite a bit, but the part I am most interested in is what he had to say about the people who went after his father. And today, I think, is the 1 year anniversary, by the way, as we record this on the 21st, of Joe Biden dropping out of the race. One of them, I mean, that's safe to say that is one of the most seismic political events of our lifetime. I don't think that's hyperbole. So this is what Hunter Biden said about George Clooney. You remember Clooney wrote the op-ed, which really was one of the turning points that helped force Biden out. When Clooney basically said that Joe Biden you saw at the debate, sadly, that was the same guy I saw at a fundraiser in LA right before the debate.
Yeah.
And Clooney's a guy who was a big supporter of Biden. So that was a big deal that he wrote that. And so this is Hunter Biden today. He said, fuck you about Clooney. What do you have to do with fucking anything? Why do I have to fucking listen to you? What right do you have to step on a man who's given 52 years of his fucking life to the service of this country? He went on to curse and excoriate James Carville, the former Clinton.
Yeah, one election in 40 years.
David Axelrod, who
yeah,
basically
one thing, Obama.
Oh, one thing, Obama.
Star in the wagon.
David Plouffe and the Pod Save America guys, who he called.
Well, I like Pod Save America, but I digress.
So what this would look? I don't know. What are your thoughts on Hunter Biden's appearance?
I don't have a lot of respect or admiration for Hunter Biden in the least. The only thing that he has going for him is he's the progeny of one of the presidents of the United States. Aside from that, he is an irrelevant moron douchebag. That's my thoughts on Hunter Biden.
I think that's well said. Like, have some fucking self-awareness. If you think Trump is a problem, which I know he does, and many people do, and we're all living through some of those issues right now, you specifically and your family in general are more responsible for that than almost anybody else.
Yes.
Because we know not only was Hunter Biden the son, he was one of the closest advisors. We know that from the books that have come out. We know that with the way Joe Biden talked about his son. Everybody knew they were so incredibly close. And for whatever reason, Joe, I think, unwisely leaned on him for a lot of advice. And then you throw in there Joe Biden as well. Those three, with others, made the decision that he would, the incredibly foolish decision that he would run for office again. And now you've had a year to think about it and process it, and you're still this indignant about it. Like, have some self-awareness.
He has none.
When your family did this, nobody made Joe Biden run for president again when it was clear to everyone by the debate, certainly, that he was not the same guy. And he was not up to the rigors of a campaign. He may not even been up to being president day in and day out, but he certainly wasn't up to being president and running a campaign. He just didn't have it. There's no shame in that. He was in his early 80s, but he should have never gone to that point. And part of the reason he did get to that point was because of you, Hunter Biden. Also, not to mention the way that we talk about grift, the way that Hunter Biden, and there's been no proof, despite what some Republicans will say, that Joe Biden ever profited in any way from this. But Hunter Biden did. And it wasn't illegal what Hunter Biden did, making money with bullshit jobs he wasn't qualified for. But it was immoral, and it was wrong. And he went so far, and I know people say, well, everybody does it. Everybody gets rich off power. Maybe to a certain level. He was like, hold my beer, and went way beyond that, with raking in millions of dollars with Burisma and some of these foreign governments. And look, I get it. He was an addict at a time, and I
was just going to say, I'm 46 years old. I've never put a crack pipe in my mouth. I never will, unless I'm like in my late 80s and the writing is on the wall. But my point is like, your ability to speak on these things, you have no qualifications, you have no expertise, you just happen to be a sperm that hit an egg of one of the presidents. Shut the fuck up.
And look, he's really lucky he's not in prison right
Oh,
now.
very lucky.
Because he was convicted in both of his cases, the gun case, although that was not a charge that probably ever should have been brought, but the tax case he was convicted in, not to mention his conduct. I mean, this is a guy after his brother died, he was having an affair with his brother's wife and also doing drugs with her, getting her involved with drugs. So personally, he was a mess, which is
no, right. It's fine. It's fine. It
there
was
are a
the
lot of
drugs
people
there.
that have messy personal lives, and addiction's a terrible thing.
But they don't make
then
these comments
they
in
don't
this
make
setting.
these comments. They don't make the call to give your father the advice, the terrible advice to run again. And also, by the way, if you Jake Tapper's book, which just came out, Original Sin, chronicles, and this has been talked about other places too, how much of a toll Hunter Biden's legal problems were on
I'm
Joe
sure.
Biden during
I
his
can't even
presidency.
imagine.
And so Joe Biden not only was dealing with cognitive decline that we see or we saw, but who knows what role that stress and that trauma of the shit show that his son's life was and all of those legal troubles, how much that maybe exasperated whatever decline already was happening. Because we know stress and that kind of stress can be, a negative have a negative health impact. So, what I'm trying to say is in so many ways, we are where we are now, not totally because of Hunter Biden, but he played a not insignificant role in it. And so for him now to come out and blame other people like George Clooney,
and Jake Tapper,
the right thing, and Jake Tapper, George Clooney was telling the truth. He was telling the truth, and thank God he did. And the same thing with these other people like Carville and the people that helped in some small way push Biden out of the race. They did the right thing. And the fact that you would not only have fought them then, but having a year to think about it, you would come out and be this fucking arrogant.
It's not that, dude. He's just such a small, insignificant, irrelevant person inserting himself among significant people. Because say what you will about Jake Tapper and James Carville and George Clooney. These are accomplished people who have done amazing things in their lives. And your father, who former president of the United States, one of my favorite politicians that has ever lived in my lifetime. Dude, I love Joe Biden. With that in mind, he's an embarrassment. He's a clown show. And watching that and hearing that, this, like you said, self-awareness is the biggest thing. Just go away, dude.
Right. If he did have any self-awareness, like given what he has done and the life he has led, just be thankful you're not in prison.
Yeah, in prison.
And that your buddy paid off all your like how nice is that too? He owed millions of dollars to the IRS and a friend of his just paid it for him. Do you have friends like that?
No, I don't. I wish I did. I have a friend that has a boat, and that's amazing. But he would definitely not pay my back taxes.
Not to mention all the people that bought his ridiculous art for outrageous sums, clearly because he was the president's son.
Yeah.
It's just, again, hide under a rock, dude. Like hide in shame. We don't want to see you anymore.
It was like
think about you anymore.
It was like watching The Office when Michael Scott is doing something where you just cringe. And that's the thing is like to have someone, again, I go back to so self-aware of how they come across or how they sound or what they represent. And I never thought I would see the day where the right was like, oh, Hunter Biden's talking. Let the man cook.
Oh,
you know what I mean? They do.
Oh
they were firmly against Hunter Biden, and now they're like, I kind of like this guy.
Oh my god! If he wanted to go on there, any right wing media, they would love that.
Oh, I'm sure.
That would be like. You
know what? Another revenue stream, another grift.
Absolutely, yeah. Talk about grifters, man. This is the era we live in, I guess. All right, Brian. I wanted to turn to the world of entertainment. You watched Superman. We talked about that last week. Just before the show, you were making arrangements to go see the Marvel big movie this summer, which is called The Fantastic Four. It's their first Fantastic Four movie.
Under the MCU.
Marvel. Yeah, under the MCU. There were Fantastic Four movies from 20th Century Fox earlier in this century, but this is the first time Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I thought it was a good time to check in on Marvel because we talked about this last week when you talked about how Superman was so good, and I think it's been generally well received, that this is the kind of the launch of DC's competition. It's kind of their restart. They've tried before, but this is their restart to try to compete against what Marvel has done. And Kevin Feige, who has been the guy, the driving force behind the incredible accomplishment Marvel has, which has probably made them the most successful movie franchise in history. There was a really interesting article where he gave kind of a state of the union of where Marvel is. What did you think about the things he had to say and where Marvel finds itself right now?
Well, we just got done talking about self-awareness and Hunter Biden not having any. That's the greatest credit that I could give to Kevin Feige, right? Is that if you read this article or see it, he's very well aware of what has happened in the Marvel universe. Again, this is another conversation you and I had earlier, but in the first, what was it, 16 years of Marvel, they had 50 hours of film.
Oh, yeah,
And
this is
then
incredible
in the
stuff.
last
So it was,
six,
this is incredible. This was the takeaway for me from the article, and it tells you really why Marvel has fallen off so much. The Marvel universe from Iron Man through Endgame, so that was 11 years. They made roughly 50
11
hours
years.
of
Yeah.
content. 50 hours in 11 years. Since Endgame through now, so we're talking about 6 years, half the time, they've made 102 hours of movies and Disney Plus shows. If you want to know why the product got so diluted, I mean, that is it right there in a nutshell.
Well, there are successes in there. There's Loki,
Yes.
there's WandaVision, there's a few good films, Spider-Man being among them, even in the multiverse. But I think because you've done so much, of course, there's going to be failures in there. The interesting part for me was the comic book fatigue. I don't think people have comic book movie fatigue. I think they have good movie fatigue because I just like to go back to what Marvel has accomplished since Kevin Feige's been there is nothing short of remarkable, and I believe it is unprecedented in film history to have a universe that extended for this amount of time that people are still interested in to the level that they are interested in it. So along that way, are you going to have some failures? I think there were outside forces, certainly, that impacted that. I think with Disney Plus coming on board, the need for content to have to put that out. And look, revisionist history, we all know what happened. There were too many streaming services too fast with too many shows that diluted what was in there. I think even Marvel, as great as they were, clearly fell victim to that. They're going to recover. Fantastic Four is going to make $1 billion. It's going to head into Robert Downey Jr., who is about as box office bankable as any film star, certainly in modern times. I'm very positive on the outlook for Marvel. The thing I liked about the Kevin Feige interview was his candor, because that's rare. I think he was candid. I think what he said was truthful. I think he's looking back on it, through the proper prism. I enjoyed what he had to say.
Yeah, I did too. I thought we talked about Hunter Biden's lack of self awareness. I thought he had a lot of self awareness. And look, they got hit with kind of a perfect storm because Endgame came, and then you had COVID, you had the writers and actors strike, you had the tragic death of Chadwick Boseman, who was the Black Panther. It was going to be one of their tentpole characters. You had, as you mentioned, the glut of streaming, which produced some hits, but also produced a lot of misses. And then you also had who they were setting up to be the new Thanos, Kang, the Conqueror.
Oh, the actor who played Kang.
Yes, they didn't mention Jonathan. Was it Jonathan Majors?
Jonathan Majors.
Yeah, they did. He didn't mention. Feige didn't mention. He just called him the Kang actor or the actor who played Kang. So they were setting him up. Although I thought it was really interesting in there that he talked about how they already were planning to move away from Kang even before Majors got into legal trouble, because he said they realized that Kang wasn't essentially a big enough villain to
like
anchor
Thanos.
to anchor a whole set of movies around, and they decided that Doctor Doom would be that character.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Robert Downey Jr. Yes.
I think that's one thing where Kevin Feige and I are going to be pretty far apart. I thought Jonathan Majors was absolutely amazing as Kang the Conqueror. I think what he did in Loki, what he did in the Ant-Man movie was amazing acting. I thought he was a tremendous Kang. I thought that character had a ton of potential. That's one spot where maybe that decision was made. I'm going to take Kevin Feige at his word, but I disagree because Jonathan Majors was amazing.
Yeah, I'm not.
Because you know me, I don't care what people do in their personal lives. Are you good? Because he was good.
He was good, and he not in prison, so he could do it. Although I think he did plead guilty. I think I don't know. I can't speak to if I'm not enough of a comic book nerd to know if the Kang character was up for that or if Doctor Doom would be better. But I do agree with you that when I saw Majors, I didn't see everything like you did, but the things I did see, I thought he was great.
He was great.
I thought he was electric on the screen,
very
especially
much.
in Loki. He was so good. But I look, they've been in a rut, Marvel. There's no doubt about it. Even Thunderbolts, which you and I agree was a very good movie. I had basically checked out of the Marvel universe, and then I went to see Thunderbolts, and I said, "Hey, I'm back in."
That's good.
That did not do well at the box office. The other movie, what was the movie that came out before then?
Brave New World.
Brave New World. That did not do well. So that
wasn't a good movie. Because even though Anthony Mackie is good, Harrison Ford was cashing a paycheck, and God bless him when you're 1,000 years old.
Right.
But the problem with Brave New World was that the editing in that was so heavy, how they had to change the story to fit a narrative that they were moving towards. I don't think that movie got a fair chance. I think to judge Anthony Mackie based on that, I think to base that movie from the perspective of what they were trying to do, it, like you said, the strikes, everything that was going on, that movie never really had a chance. And sometimes that happens.
Yeah,
like you and I talk about all the time. No one sets out to make a shitty movie, man. These are people who are great at what they do. Whether it's Tom Hiddleston as Loki or Jonathan Majors as Kang or Owen Wilson. Like these are amazing people who do great work. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But the one thing we know is the more of anything you make, the more of a chance you're not going to hit a home run every time.
Right. And I think the important takeaway from that article was that they learned their lesson. Less is more. They're going to do fewer TV shows, fewer movies. And I think there's a very strong likelihood they will be better because of that. And also, I have a feeling Fantastic Four isn't just going to make a ton of money, but also I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Good. I think it's going to be really good. And I also think that big Avengers movies, we haven't seen them in a while.
Yeah.
And so I know some of the characters are different, although some are returning. But I have a feeling if Robert Downey Jr. is as good as we think he can be as the new villain, and you get all of these characters together, new and old, and
Wolverine, Deadpool.
You bring in the X-Men. I think those two Avengers movies, which I think come out next summer and the summer after, 26 and 27, that I think really could help turn those things around. And then also they're going to recast. They're going to recast all the X-Men at that point.
I saw that.
Recast Iron Man and so it goes on and on and on. And even though I checked out for a while and I'm still not completely back in, I want it to work. I want it to work because
but it's like anything. Don't we always want them to work?
Right, but I think these characters are special and I think they're
it's like Superman for me.
Right, but I think especially because of the way that studios have become so reluctant to take chances, and so much of what we see are sequels and IP and all kinds of retreads and remakes. That's what the cycle we're generally in. I don't love that cycle. I wish it were different, but I recognize the world as it is, not as I want it to be. And if that's going to be the world, then Marvel has to work. It has to work, because if you're still making these movies and they're shit, like they're not going to stop making them, right? You know what I mean? Like that is not a world I want to be in. I want to be in a world where these big movies, these box office popcorn movies are good, and I want to go see them, and they continue this legacy.
I think that will happen. I mean, do you not trust Kevin Feige at this point? He's done really well.
I trusted like I said, that interview. My trust was shaken.
Really?
Severely. oh my God, I told you I bailed. I didn't watch hardly any Marvel content other than Loki for like a 2 or 3 year
You know
period.
what I did
But
watch though is the family and I we saw the Superman movie at the theater. We watched Man of Steel with oh God. Uh
I know you're talking. I never saw that one either. Was it
uh
better or worse than Man of Steel?
so that's a loaded question because they're very different movies. Where Man of Steel is darker and more based in reality, which is crazy to say.
Henry Cavill.
Yeah, the Cavalry. Henry Cavill is amazing. I think that movie over time is going to have a lot more people that love it because of how different it is from the modern Superman. Just a thought. I think that will be true. I think originally when it came out, I think it had the Christopher Reeve thing, the reboot thing going against it. But viewed through a modern prism, when you rewatch that movie, you're like, you know what? This is a really good film.
I didn't even real. I'm again. I've never seen it. I didn't realize the supporting cast: Diane Lane, Kevin Costner, Russell Crowe, Lawrence Fishburne.
Well,
Are
my
you kidding me?
children were talking at one point, and I literally yelled at them. I was like, "How dare you? Russell Crowe is acting. Will you please shut up?"
You know, it's like that Tony Soprano.
That's the
scene.
gladiator. Can we
Right.
all just stop?
It's like that Tony Soprano scene where he talks about Columbus. In this house, Columbus is a hero.
Yes.
In this house, Russell Crowe is a
Yeah,
hero.
yeah, that's how I was, dude. I was like a maniac because I was like, you guys need to shut up. Russell Crowe is, oh God. Anyway, but it was fun. It was fun to see young Russell Crowe. It was 2013. It was pretty cool, man. I got to say, I really enjoyed the rewatch of Man of Steel a lot. I don't
Russell
know.
Crowe is the reason my son is named Maximus, and I'm not kidding. I'm
yeah,
not joking because
That's
he is
amazing.
Maximus and Gladiator, and he gives that scene. I am Maximus Aurelius, whatever,
yeah.
father of a murdered child, husband of a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next. I mean, that is,
I love that.
it's so good. I mean, it's just like peak acting. All right, Brad, any final thoughts?
Dude, I'm good for tonight. Like I said, our plate was full. I mean, I always think, you know what? We really put it all out there this week. We left it on the field. So next week we're not going to have anything, but something will happen.
Something will come up.
Dude, you
Yes.
could not predict the astronomer thing in a million years at the Coldplay
No.
concert. That
No.
thing has a life of its own. Do you think it'll be dead by next week, or do you think it will still be going? It's got to die, right?
It will still be going, but it won't be as big. I mean, part of what kept it going were the memes and the fact that at other concerts they were joking about it. And did you see the Philly Fanatic and what they did at the
Dude,
Phillies
I'm so
game?
glad you
That
brought
was
that
hilarious.
up. Brilliant. I mean, just absolutely brilliant with what they did. You talked about this on the show. I think it was last week about how Epstein had everything, right? Royalty, money, sex, fame. To have a CEO and the head of HR having a relationship, like like it's just
Yeah.
so funny. Did you
Right.
see the new CEO was appointed?
Yes.
And I love the new CEO statement. He's like, you know what? He's like, yeah, it was a messed up thing with happen, but everyone knows who we are now.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing.
Yeah, look for the silver lining. That's what he did.
He's like,
he's
screw
right.
that guy.
He's right. Now people know
What
not
they
the
do,
company,
who they
know what
are.
they do. Right. You can't get that kind of brand
No.
recognition. Like they could have paid millions of dollars on an ad campaign and not gotten the kind of brand recognition that they have now.
That
Maybe
was
they'll
it.
become like, maybe this will be the new Amazon and it will be
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying is amazing. Wouldn't that
It
be
is.
incredible? Like, it's unlikely to happen, but if it did, just from this story, Trump aside, all the things we talk about on the show aside, that is a remarkable that was the story of the week.
Absolutely. All right, Brian, that'll do it for this week. For Brian Johnson, I'm Eric Messersmith. Thank you for being with us. We hope you enjoyed the show, but if not, please take no offense.